An exciting new capability in Quadraspace 2011 SP1 is the ability to use a image library that's built into the product now. This is available from the Insert ribbon. Under Image, you can have there's a library of stock icons and images, and you can use these while you're building your document. And you can also add your own custom to this. There's a directory that you just place your images in, and you can get your own custom ones in that way. You can also set the path to this, and it will look at a different area for these images. Now, this is a very handy capability that allows you to put your corporate logos here for easy use, to put symbols that you would use for markups or as page elements, all kinds of different things like that. So in this case, in our example today, we're going to make use of both markup and page layout images, and we're going to create in our inspection document you see here, we're going to add a legend to this page, and then we're going to create a textless instruction set that only uses the images from the legend for each of the different procedures in this inspection. So let's go ahead and set up our legend. This is just a template that we started with here, so I'm going to double click and I'm just going to do a copy, paste of this text box, and we'll drag it down into this area, and we'll just say legend, resize it a little, and then we're going to add, we're going to insert our icons. So there's 4 of these that I want to put into here, and we'll just pull them out of the library here. We're going to do a push button. One thing, if you're not familiar with working with images with Quadraspace, is that you can just drag these out onto the page. Let's make our grid a little bit different here, a little bit, so that we can easily just create a snap to that's just 2 by 2 for each of the items. So let's go ahead and bring in the next one we want is a visually inspect. We're going to label these before we do the markups too. So let's find an eyeball. There's an eyeball. Then record the time spent. And then finally a icon for connecting. Okay. Alright, and so now we have our legend. Let's type our text in for the legend. So I'll just take a text box, drag it out over here. And inside this, we want a font size quite a bit bigger than what's flashing there. We'll just say press button. These may not line up perfectly, but we'll do what we can here. Visually inspect. You could go and notice the spell checker here. We can right click, change that to visually. Record time. And finally connect. Okay, so there's a little quick legend. The next step in setting up this document is we're going to actually add our procedures, and this will use those icons as markups, and so we'll have a matching of our elements on the page with our elements in the markup scene. And this document is automatically set up so that as we create new illustrations or new processes in our procedures, we're going to get a list here that we can click. As the quality control person, when we receive this document, we'll be able to just click these. So let's just go ahead and start. We're going to just create our first illustration. In general, to make illustrations, you can go to the Illustrate ribbon and use New. I'm going to use a hotkey, Control E. And so I'm going to hit Control E, and I'm not going to edit the markups on this one. And I'm just going to say our first one is Inspection Procedures, just kind of a title for this one. And when I hit OK, what you'll notice is that it's captured that view, but it's also added it to the list over here. So I have a illustration captured by name, Inspection Procedures, and it's on my list. It's hard to read that. The font's quite small. We can modify that, but I'm just going to leave it as it is for now. So our next step is to connect cables. So let's go into here. I'm going to use our viewpoint ribbon to get a good alignment for this. Something like that's probably good, and then we're going to zoom in and find all the places that we're going to need to put our markups. And this one we're going to capture. Again, I'm going to hit Control E, and this one's called Connect Cables. It's turning red as I type because that's a spell checker showing that the word's not spelled correctly. In this case, we're going to now edit the markups right now. We hit OK, and we now, with this orange border, it's telling us that we're editing the markup. So let's add a couple images very quickly here. To add an image from the library, we just use the pull down next to image, and in this case we need to use this this icon here, the plug-in icon, and we're just going to put one on the page right here, and we're going to actually attach a leader to this. So we do that by right-clicking, enable leader, and then we can just go and click on that area we want to show, and we'll do one more. So again, we'll take an image. In fact, I'm just going to copy this one. We'll do a copy, and we'll paste it here and move it down, and then let's just make sure we got the power in there, and we'll just show to attach a video cable. So when to reposition that, since they're both pointing one place, we can just right click, reposition leader, and then click on the spot. So we might go put a mouse and a keyboard, but I'm just going to move on at this point so that I can get this done in a timely manner. Okay, so we hit done. We now have our next instruction, which is connect cables, and we're going to do 3 or 4 more here. The next one that we want to do, which I'm going to hit escape to clear out that illustration. You notice it deselects from the table, my markups go away, and we're going to pick a new position. That looks fine because we want to talk about powering on the unit now. We've hooked up the cables. Again, Control E, capture my illustration. Power on unit. And then we're going to tell the inspection person to how to do that is to press this button right here. So again, we're just going to insert, under illustrate, we're going to take and put in a button procedure with the finger there, and we're going to again enable leader, point it at that, and so we now have an inspection process there, and you can see how the handle automatically positions itself to the closest handle. So as I moved it up, it moved to the middle there. Okay, so we hit done. That's that procedure, and you can see this matches up to the press button. We could switch that to go the other way by dragging across. It'll flip on the drag. It looks like it's opposite of this, but okay. Then I'm not. Next one is verify power indicators. So let's just zoom in on this scene. Control E again. Tell the inspector to make sure that the power light comes on. Kind of a silly procedure, but so the icon for that is the visual eyeball. Visually inspect this. We just drag it out into our white area here. Right click, enable leader, and point it to that light and say done. And our final step for this procedure is to record the time it takes for the computer to boot. So it's not necessary for us to have much of a view. We'll just pull it back out to our default view here. We'll do our last markup, our last illustration. Control E, record, boot time, press OK, and then there's nothing to attach this markup to. I'm just going to insert with the clock and just tell them to time it. Okay, so we've got our final set of inspection procedures here. All of these are referencing these icons. And you can see as I click down through it, I click inspection procedure. That'll recall our first procedure. There was no markup on this. Connect cables goes to this connection spot, brings up our visual identifiers, power on the unit, again all the way through until we have an inspection procedure.